morning and welcome to our session on employability skills. I'm Susan Moore with the Greater Houston Partnerships Upskill Houston Initiative. And joining me this morning are Michael Fiorenza, Chief Operating Officer and from Lundgren Painting and Drywall, Jonathan Peralta, a recruiter with MEMCO, and if we can get her on, Mark Joseph, a Talent Acquisition Program Manager from TD Industries. Welcome everybody. Let's get started. Employability can be defined as having strong people skills and a professional attitude, as well as relevant qualifications. Michael, what would you say are some of the most important employability skills on job sites and within the industry as a whole? And why is employability so important in commercial construction?
Commercial construction is a fantastic avenue for a great career long-term with a lot of potential upside. If I were to give a couple of the items that I really believe are important for employability, is you need to be coachable and trainable. You need to seek out a mentorship. You need to always be early. You need to take pride in what you do. Those four items will allow you to grow skill set at an exponential rate, as well as make you more desired by almost any company in the construction industry. We are with a lack of skilled tradesmen, and technology is increasing in our industry. So there's a lot more options for growth, including technology in construction. It's not just the old school style of building a building anymore. There's a lot to it now.
Jonathan, do you have anything to add, or does that sound about right?
Michael's definitely on point. I mean, he's right about the age of technology. The age of technology itself has made it much more simpler and much more easy for people to master a technical trade as opposed to a physical trade. I mean, with as many new companies that are just popping up, with technology, I mean, people would look at construction and think, I'd rather just sit at a computer and do something, with electronics versus something that, I have to, work my hands with for. I mean, it's really easy to make that decision. It really is. But I mean, I think that there's plenty of people out there still, even young kids nowadays that are, want to build something with their hands and are kind of brought up to be that way. And I mean, me myself, it's been years since I've been in the field, but because I've been a recruiter for 8 years now. But coming out of high school, I mean, I was, in a metal shop, and I wanted to do woodworking more than anything. So, I mean, I've always kind of leaned more towards being a carpenter in that sense, because building with my hands is, just, amazing to me in that sense. But I mean, definitely, Michael's right about the other part where he says there's not enough. Well, I mean, I guess he was kind of leaning towards it. There's not enough tradesmen for a lot of the construction-based trades in commercial construction. You ask any foreman, or any journeyman, any master skilled tradesman, they'll tell you flat out, there's not enough people to do what we do. And the ones that have those skills and have mastered those skills are getting to be older and older as time goes by, and they're finding less and less amount of people to want to jump into those apprenticeships accordingly. And I mean, there's plenty of work as well. I mean, this construction doesn't go away. It's something that we definitely want more people to get, become more interested in.
Sure. So why then is employability, these skills, important for your industry?
For mine in particular, I mean, I'm a recruiter. I work for a construction-based staffing company. I deal with, eight or nine different types of trades. And even though I don't have the physical experience in some of them, I've gained that knowledge over the last couple of years, speaking with customers directly and being on job sites directly and watching what they do. And I mean, tell you flat out, it's simply amazing. You know what I see from day to day. I mean, I know COVID has really limited that aspect over the last 9-10 months, but I mean, I think if these kids could see what I see on a day to day basis, I mean, it kind of just becomes clear as far as why you know jumping into this industry is essential.
And Mark, if we can bring you in, I'd love to hear your perspective on employability skills and why they're so essential.
Oh yeah. So I caught a little bit about what Mike was saying and then got out and came back in. But so employability skills, especially in commercial construction, it's an ever evolving and changing um, industry, right? So all the changes that happen on a project, you have to have the flexibility and adaptability skills because you can't just be stringent one way. So be willing to make adjustments and change is needed being on a project. And I know Mike talked about being coachable and trainable. It there's so many employers that are willing to take on fresh, young talent and train them up in the way they want them to be. That's going to be beneficial to their company and actually create long-term success even for that individual. The challenge is that sometimes they're not, work ready. So being able to actually bring those skills to the table and hone into it, it creates further success down the line.
So we'll come back to you, Michael. What are some areas that you see that would cause someone to be unemployability or perhaps to be dismissed from a job in commercial construction?
The easiest way to get dismissed from a job or terminated or cause employment issues is safety infractions. Our industry is always moving. Our industry has a lot of intricate parts to it that if you're not paying attention to, you can seriously hurt yourself, get killed, or hurt someone else, or kill someone else.
Yes.
So safety is the very first. Our industry has moved towards a zero tolerance aspect of safety, where if it's a blatant disregard, that you're gonna have an employment issue. The other thing is just work ethic, right? If you have a work ethic that you show up late, you're always late for lunch, coming back from lunch, or you're trying to leave early, or trying to find a way out of doing certain tasks. A lot of us structure our teams and structure our crews to work together, and it's you need multiple pieces to complete a task. And if one piece is not working, the other tasks suffer downstream. So those two are the biggest ones that we focus on.
Sure. I see Mark and Jonathan, you're both shaking your heads. What else would you add to that?
I would add attendance is extremely important. Being able to be punctual. One of the things that I preach, and I'm sure you guys do as well, is that if you're on time, you're late. So you need to be early to be on time. Projects need to be running smoothly. And if you can't be there when you're supposed to be there, not just arriving on time, but also being there for the full day and finishing out not just your job, but also being willing to help, then that's going to cause a problem with the project and the teamwork. So not being collaborative, it's not about the I, right? So it's about the we and how we can accomplish this together. So attendance or lacking, the motivation to have an excitement, enthusiasm about what you're doing. But I would definitely go back to the number one being safety first.
Sure. Jonathan, anything to add in?
I mean, they're both on point, Mark and Michael. I ask people when they come into my office, or if I do a Zoom interview or a FaceTime interview, what drives you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And 50% of them will tell me flat out, it's money. I mean, of course, we need money for everything. It circulates and regulates our lives accordingly. but there's a very, few, there are very few who tell me flat out, I want to learn something. I need, I yearn for that knowledge of, building myself up to a point where I can be proud of what I do on a daily basis and, go home and be happy about it. I think, it's, Mark and Michael are right. Being able to be there on time, communicate effectively, and, being that reliable, and, possessing that reliability shows employers, a lot about your character.
Sure. So turning the corner a little bit, I only have two more questions. What are some steps that students can take to become more employable for the future commercial construction and labor market? How can they develop some of these skills?
Mentors, take an interest, get involved with this early. Don't wait till your last year of high school and say, oh, I think I want to join the trades and learn more about construction. Start learning now. It, the longer you do something, the better you are at it, right? Or the better you become. You practice, practice, practice. And that's what allows them to hone in on those skills, whether it's these employability skills or even the technical skills. Start working on it now and continue to develop that to contribute to your future success. But definitely get a mentor, somebody that's, I think a lot of students lose sight of the fact that teachers in the trades typically are coming from industry. So they are bringing not just that educational piece, but that industry experience along with them, many of them being experts in what they were doing before they became teachers. Teaching is just a way for them to give back to the community. So they need to take hold of that knowledge and expertise and run with it for as long as they possibly can. But, and build your network, get to know people that are in the industry so that you can learn more about what they're doing, what type of careers are available, and what exactly they're looking for in terms of a future partner, a future employee, a candidate, right?
I think that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And right, exactly right. The only thing that I would add to that is getting into the trades, it can seem intimidating because there's so many pieces of it. So there's big things moving, small things moving. Don't be afraid to fail, because nobody learns anything without failing. So don't come in and expect that you have to perform at the same level as somebody that's been doing that job for 20 or 30 years or running multiple phases of projects. You've got to put the time in. You've got to be humble. You've got to be able to fail gracefully and learn from those mistakes.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Michael and Mark are both right. Failing is experience, and failing again and again and again just adds to what Mark was saying about honing, your ability to adapt and master whatever it is you're trying to go after. Um, I think that's, and it's admirable. It's not something that people are just gonna, your master craftsman's gonna be like, oh well, you can't do it the first time, right? You can't do it at all. They know better. They have that experience. They understand where you're coming from, and you know the for young people to show an initiative and just walk into a company and say, hey, I don't know anything about what you guys do, but I'd love to learn. I mean, that's what people want to see. I mean, I couldn't. Don't be afraid to just walk up there. I mean, that I've got people calling me the other day and say, how do I get into this and how do I get into that? Show some initiative. Seek out employers in your area and just ask them, are you guys taking apprenticeships? Can I do a free do you have a free apprenticeship I could join into? There are plenty of companies with master craftsmen who would be willing to set some time aside and teach you what they know.
And learning to utilize the relationships if they can really nurture those relationships, so having a humble spirit, oh my goodness, I can't stress that enough. Having a humble spirit and expressing your desire to learn will carry you a long way in this industry.
So then it sounds like you're giving some advice to students. What other kind of advice would you give to them if they want to learn more about commercial construction or get into the commercial construction industry? What should they do now to build up not only their employability skills, but maybe some of the other skills that they'll need to have to kind of get into that career path?
I think for those who are sure that they want to be involved in construction, it's about finding that right trade. I mean, if you love painting, then go for painting. I mean, if you want to build things, try out carpentry and form setting, form building. With concrete. If you're more of the want to get into more of a technical trade, maybe like HVAC would be something that you could do. Electrical, definitely. It's all about finding the trade that interests you the most, and just giving it your all and seeing where you can start with that. I mean, like I said, there are plenty of companies you could travel to within the area that people live in, and because there are construction companies everywhere, and I mean everywhere, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial. And all you have to do is walk in and say, "Hey, I'd like to learn more about what you guys do and how you do it."
There's an excellent opportunity. Pride is a big thing for our industry, and it is a great feeling being able to drive through a city or a residential development and say, I built that, or I was on that project. And we essentially change skylines. So there's a lot of resources out there. You see a building that you really like, you can dig in and find out who built it. And then you can do a little bit more digging using the internet and find out more about that building, who designed it, who were the different trade partners. And then you can go ask questions of those people because you have a building to reference or a structure to reference. Most general contractors, subcontractors, specialty contractors would absolutely enjoy getting a phone call from somebody interested in getting into the trade saying, hey, I looked at this building that you guys were a part of or you built. I'd love to talk to you about it. We're going to set a time on the calendar and we will make sure that we black out time to get that conversation going.
That's excellent, Michael. Like both of you. Just to echo that, research and networking. Mm-hmm. Researching what you want to know and finding someone that's doing what you want to do. So, identifying that passion, fueling that passion, making the right connections with individuals that can help you get to that career path that you're interested in. So it's a learning opportunity.
And then very briefly, how did you all enter your industries? If you care to share.
Network.
I grew up in the construction industry. Okay. So
I actually crossed over from a large manufacturing company to construction, but it was by way of relationships. So,
okay. Me, it kind of started in high school. I mean, I started in metal shop my senior year, and tried to go into a trade that would let me do carpentry, and there was just so many. I jumped the gun in that sense because I wanted to do certain things that I didn't have the skills for. And my stepdad was in construction for most of his life, so he kind of put me with his company, and I did things on the side, and did some minor work for them here and there, and until I finally got a hold of coming in with Memco, and just kind of realized that I wanted to learn more about each trade and more trades and different trades and how certain things were done with commercial, industrial, and residential based companies. So that's where I'm at right now.
Sure. And it sounds like being willing to learn and open and taking initiative sort of played a part in all of your career paths.
Definitely.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you all, our panelists, Michael and Jonathan and Mark, for joining us today and for sharing your insights. And I also want to thank our audience for being here. I hope you enjoyed the beginning of today. And I know there's a lot more great content to come. I know there's an exhibitor hall and an employer hall. So I would encourage you to go around, speak to folks. As our panelists said, ask if you're curious, ask how you can learn more, and think about that and really enjoy the day and really just enjoy it. So thank you all. This has been great to talk with you all. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Thank you, man.
Yeah.